Welcome to the NEREJ NYREJ podcast. I'm your host, Rick Kaplan. And we got a special guest today, very interesting guest, as a matter of fact. He's an inventor and also a real estate entrepreneur and an author. And I want to introduce you to Jerry Rosengarten.
How are you?
Hi, good. How you doing, Jerry?
I'm doing good.
So tell us a little bit about your interesting journey that you had with all these entrepreneurial and author, some books that you have written.
No, I only wrote one book.
Only one book. Okay, I'm giving you more credit than you should have.
Yeah, correct. I never even thought I could ever write a book. I didn't find out I was dyslexic until I was 50.
Oh, wow.
50.
So I have time.
So you have time. I don't know. All I know is that I read for really the first time on the printed page for the first time at age 50. And that's a chapter in the book.
Interesting.
Because it'll help a lot of people who suffer from problems which they don't even know they have. They just think they're dumb, they're slow, they're not trying hard enough. That's kind of like the feeling that people get when they have problems reading. And it's something that is called dyslexia. When I was a kid, they didn't even know what it was. And at age 50, I saw something on a television set that opened my eyes. And I kind of read for the first time, and I go into the book. It's a woman in California who discovered something, and I've been like I am now ever since. So, as a matter of fact, I made that the last chapter of the book because it's actually the most important chapter in the book. Because there are ways that people can get help, and it's not difficult.
Well, that's something I'm definitely going to have to read.
Yeah. Then you have to read the beginning of the book.
Well, I'll start at the beginning.
The beginning of the book goes through a lot of things over the years that I've done. And I don't, it's interesting. I didn't write a book for the purpose of selling a book or getting a book out there or ego. I wrote it for my grandkids. And I wrote it during COVID. My wife had said, we're now in a home ourselves, nobody around. She wrote a short story. And it was a memoir. So she said, I read it, it was great. And she said, you should write a short story. I said, I'm not writing a short story, I'm writing a book. That was the first time I ever thought about writing a book. And for a whole year, I sat down day after day writing this book. Then I had it worked on and corrected and stuff like that because I'm not a writer. But I wrote this book, and it's actually really good. It's actually good. And it was eye-opening to me because each chapter represents a separate project. And the projects, I realized how varied they were. You mentioned, before we got on the air, about the leisure suit. So I created the leisure suit. For good or bad, I did it. Right? And it was good when I started, and it was bad when it ended. So, and then I realized that when I was running this company, and I had this mill, when I closed it, I had no idea what I knew because I had no background in anything. And then I realized I had a background in construction because I built the mill. I had a background in design because that's really what I do mostly. And in negotiating a real estate deal, which was a lease on the executive offices of the MGM building. When they were located in New York City, that's where they were. And again, that's all this stuff is
Well, I'm
gone.
definitely going to have to read the book because it sounds like an interesting book. It also might give me some kind of incentive to maybe write my own.
Well, you should. I
Well,
tell you,
I think about it all the time.
it's kind of like freeing because now you take the book and this is you, and you put it aside. And, it's kind of like now I can live my rest of my life.
Right.
But after textiles and the leisure suit, um, I went on. New York City was going bust. Lindsay was mayor, and it was just going down the tubes. All the factory buildings, people are moving out left and right. And that was what was happening. But something happened that was interesting, and that's the artists started to move into those lofts to work. And eventually they decided I could live here. Now it was totally illegal to live in a loft. Okay. Uh, but the city didn't want to do it saving itself. They didn't know, so it couldn't deal with that. Eventually they did take it on. But prior to that, I decided to make legal lofts. So I had purchased 2 loft buildings and I made them for 18 families or whatever it was, in one and 12 in the other. And that was basically my first venture into real estate and to building and to designing.
Well, let's get into that a little bit. So you took a existing building that
Correct.
they had, it was like a mill or a warehouse type of building,
The factory building.
factory building,
One was a printing building, and the other one was a packaging building.
and you broke it up into a loft living space.
Yeah, I ended up taking clearing out the building, which was a job in itself.
Sure.
Well, listen, no, you don't know why, because this was a building that housed all of Macy's um, Thanksgiving parade and all their parades and all that stuff had all the Hazarai in there,
Right.
and getting that out was not easy. But we ended up getting it out, and so I took a building, and in that building, actually both buildings, I divided a floor into 2 units. So we had a couple of 3,000 square foot individual spaces. And I brought in the utilities, I brought in what was necessary to make it legal, and then I sold them.
So you put in kitchens in a bathroom and things like
Designed
that you
kitchens,
would
put them
need for living
inside.
space.
I
Yeah.
actually, I did one floor. That's all I did. Because the type of people who are buying lofts wanted their way, right? So I did one floor to show what you could do, and then I built them what they wanted their way.
Oh, so it was wasn't you didn't do it on spec. You
Uh,
did it
what the
you
build, all I did was buy the building on spec.
okay.
That was the spec.
So you made your model and people would then order what they would want on in their space.
Correct.
And I'll go back to when you said Hazarai for the people that don't understand Yiddish. I can say that means junk.
Oh, that's not too nice. I said they wanted their junk. No, it's not.
Right.
It's an
But
endearing term.
you mentioned Hazarai.
I know.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't speak Yiddish anymore.
That's the first time I've used it in a long time.
So, so you did that, and then did you do any other buildings after that?
Yeah. Let me think. Yeah, I had gone on vacation and I came back from vacation and all of a sudden I was priced out of the market. You couldn't touch a building for a reasonable number. Lindsay had turned the tide, things were working out, so I found myself in that situation. Um, I took another building and I leased it. Couldn't afford to buy it. I leased it for 40 years, a 40-year lease. In that building, I made a medical building. And that was on 12th Street and University. And for 30 some odd years, it ran as a medical building.
So you subleased it.
I subleased the building. It was a good, it was a
So
good
you
deal.
basically had one tenant that was in there, or did you have multiple tenants at different
No, I
places?
ended up with 70 some odd tenants in it.
Oh, so it was multiple doctors' offices, pretty much.
Right.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. And
It actually worked out very well.
I don't know if you can do that today, but that was probably in.
Medical was too hard today.
Yeah, I think that was probably a genius idea back then.
It was a one of a kind. That it was. So
So then that was the end of your real estate ventures at
no,
that point?
no, my real estate ventures went on. I did a building in opposite the Brooklyn Museum, which was a 50-unit apartment building, and it was vacant, not exactly vacant, two tenants, and I made it into a co-op.
So have you done anything after COVID? Because I know there was a lot of talk about some of the buildings, tenants moving out, a lot of vacant offices and things like that.
I haven't got back into the city. I built, just finished a house in Sag Harbor, which is a very nice house. And one thing I didn't say was I built the Bowery Hotel, and I'm right now redoing the top 3 floors of the Bowery Hotel. So those are the things I'm doing right now.
So the Bowery Hotel is still in operation. Now you're
Yeah,
just doing a remodel, kind
just
of.
remodeling the upper 3 floors. It's not affecting the hotel at all.
Now, is that a living residential hotel, or is it
It's
you know
kind of the deal I put together. Uh, it's residential on the top 3 floors, and the balance is a hotel.
oh, okay. Well, that's it. How many rooms does it pop up?
135. The hotel.
Yeah. And the how many is it apartments or condominiums? Or
No, they're strictly apartments.
oh, okay. How many apartments in those top floors?
There'll be 5.
Oh, okay. And
But
those
one will be the major apartment.
like a penthouse type.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So the leisure suit afforded you uh the time and the capital to be able to go into the
Afforded me nothing.
nothing. I don't know. I seem to have bought a lot of leisure suits.
You bought them, other people bought them. Eventually, I mean, it became a joke. And I think I rode the horse too long. Basically, that's what happened there. No, when I bought the first um, loft building, I had sold my house to be able to buy the building.
Oh,
So,
so
so
you're a risk taker.
um, sometimes you don't have choices.
Yeah.
But no,
So,
I guess you could say I'm a risk taker.
yeah.
Uh, I'll give you another risk. You ready for this one?
All right, I'm waiting.
This is not realistic, but it's a very interesting risk. Uh, my parents and my sister, my brother, myself lived in an apartment in Flushing, 2 bedroom, 1 bath for 15 or so years. And my parents decided they were going to retire and they were going to move down to Florida, which is exactly what they did. And at that time, this place wasn't built. It was going to be built, right? And it was 2 stories. It's like 50 units on one level, 50 units on total number of the units in this place is like 700. Now, um,
And this is in Florida.
no, yeah, this is in Florida. This is in Delray.
No. Oh, Delray. Okay.
And my parents came to me and said, we want to buy these apartments, a place. I said, okay, should we buy up on the upper level or the bottom level? So I said, Mom, don't have people above your head anymore. Buy it to the upper level. This is what she did. Now, fast forward 20 years, right? Now, Mom's knees are bothering her. She can't get up to the upper level. I mean, she can, but it's hard. I said, Dad, why don't we put in an elevator? They'll never let you put it in. So, and my brother and I said that. They'll never let you put it in an elevator. So I said, let's put in a lift. They'll never let you put in a lift. So I went to management about the lift part, because that made more sense than the elevator. Because these people weren't going to go to pocket for supporting an elevator. So I said, let's go to he said, they won't let you do it in the city. It's not hurricane proof. So I called up. It's hurricane proof, right? So I spent a year fighting with the powers that be in this community, in this hierarchy, if you will. And it became a civil war. The newspaper, the people downstairs, when they originally bought, it was a lower end, right? Upper stairs was a higher end. So I had this differential between the two people being north and south. Okay. It was really crazy. But I didn't realize that when I got into this. Uh, and basically the people on the lower levels did not want to have a lift. It's going to block my view. It's going to make new noise. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. And no matter what, I couldn't get an easy agreement, right? So now I go to the board. The major board is the presidency. About 12 guys on the board. This is a year down the road. Okay, uh, that was to get an appointment with the president's board. These guys were easily in their mid 80s and on. Okay, so here I'm making a speech to them, and this guy's falling out. He's falling asleep. That guy's falling asleep. And I'm not stopping. I'm keep on going. And I said, at this point, my brother and I determined we were going to put it in for nothing, right? So I said, plus it's free. And the whole board woke up.
The bullet.
No one gives something for free. And it went to, so they said, we'll approve it, but it's got to go to a vote to the whole community. I think that's when it hit the papers. I'm not sure. No, it hit the papers before. So in any case, now I find myself in a 1,300 seat theater with 1,500 people in it because they would line the eyes and the whole thing. And I'm making this presentation. I made this presentation 100 times already, right? And then something dawned on me. I changed the presentation. I said, you're not giving your neighbor a lift. You're giving them a spare tire. And that changed it. Got voted in, and now there are 700 lifts in there. I only put in the one for nothing.
What complex? If you,
Kings Point.
my mother and father lived there.
Do they?
They did.
Well, ask. Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
No, they're
My,
still they moved back north because they needed more care. They were in their 90s, but they lived there for a number of years, and that was I remember in I think it was like the early 70s, maybe mid 70s,
I love.
where they were selling them on spec, and then
Oh, they were selling them. Yeah,
yeah, they were selling them on spec, and then the market collapsed, and they couldn't give away a lot of them.
I think the guy who did it the first one lost his shirt. That's what I think.
But it's like a city in itself down there. And
It is.
I mean, I love Del Rey, but Kings Point is it's showing its age now.
Actually, I still live not in Kings Point, but I live down there, and Kings Point has held its own. It's
Yeah,
getting younger people, and
younger people are starting to move in there.
listen, it was a great community. It was a great community for a
No,
lot
my
of,
mother and father loved it.
just don't try and put in a lift.
Yeah. Well, that's why when you said that, because I remember they were on the first floor, and the lift, well, it was like an elevator in their building where it went up to the second floor.
Yeah,
So the newer properties, they probably did the elevators after you won that case.
right. And by the
So
way, the law changed.
yeah, well, the law changed. Yeah, that's
Handicap
true.
now has to be dealt with,
Right.
and that's considered a handicap.
So let's let's talk a little more about your new book that's coming out, and it's "Jump on the Train."
Here's the
Yeah, yeah. Pull it back a little more. I think if you pull, yeah, there you go. Jump on the train. Now, is that on Amazon? You can buy it on Amazon.
on Amazon. It's not coming out until uh, the 20th.
20th of February.
Mhm.
Okay, great. I'm going to have to get a copy.
You do, because I
I
only told you half the story.
it, well, it sounds like an interesting story, and it sounds like something that it might be helpful to me in my journey to maybe write my own book.
Well, you listen. It's like anything else. It's a job. Don't mistake anything. It's a job.
All right. I I love taking on jobs.
Before I hang, I don't know if it's coming to an end, but I assume it's coming to an end. I built 100 acre solar farm in on the island, which was another fight.
On
The
Long
reason I
Island?
bring it up, the reason I bring it up, the resistance uh, is amazing. It's not like the people downstairs as opposed to upstairs. It's just amazing how much resistance we have to things that everybody tells us we need.
Well, as long as I've been around the commercial real estate industry, every time you want to build anything, there's always going to be some resistance. And some people, that's what they do on a day-to-day basis. You
Oh,
know,
it's,
that's that's their life, fighting everything. Whether it's right or wrong, they don't really care. They're just looking for a fight.
Trouble is, no one makes them pay for that. If they lose, they don't,
Right.
doesn't affect them, which is amazing to me that with our system, people could just do that and not pay a price if they're wrong. I don't know what creates wrong, but
Yeah, well, sometimes it is wrong because you can see a property that has been run down and falling apart, and then someone comes in and they want to develop it, and there's people that will fight that development tooth and nail because they don't feel as though it fits their need or fits the area. But does a rundown, old, broken down building fit that area? I don't think so, you know?
there's a story in the book about, I think it was before I bought anything in Manhattan after leisure suit, because I was going on city auctions, right? Trying to pick up property from the city auction. I was told that was the way to do it. And I went to a city auction on the Lower East Side, all the way uh, east. It was a building that you wouldn't even walk into. And the people came out with signs against us developing it. It was crazy.
Well, I can tell you there's towns that I know of that there's groups that 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 they
Groups,
that's
yeah.
all they hmm?
Groups, you said.
Yeah, a group of people that live in the town and that's all they do. Whenever someone comes up with any kind of a development or a project that they want to do in that town, they already have their set group of people to go to fight it. No matter what it is, it doesn't matter. And it just forces the developer to hire all kinds of expensive attorneys, which the attorneys love this,
Well,
it's a
attorneys love
moneymaker.
any problem. There's an attorney for.
Yeah, right.
Now, it took so much. I would say the solar farm was one of the hardest things I ever did. I was the first solar farm, other than Brookhaven. They had one.
Hmm.
And I originally wanted to make it a green community. It's 100 acres. It's a lot of land. Uh, I I actually had a meeting with the community, right? The type of groups you're talking about, prior to even hiring a lawyer, to see if there was any way I could get this thing done. It was not going to happen.
So that's another thing. You're also involved in solar.
Right.
So when did you start the solar? Was that before it became very popular?
Yes. Actually, I built a greenhouse, which I live in Southampton. I decided to show other developers out there how to build green, right? I put in everything, self-sufficient house. I had a little booklet that I would give out to people so that they could see how to do it. I don't know if it's the last greenhouse I ever built, but it didn't work. But that's the same greenhouse that I wanted to put on that land. More modest, but basically a community that everyone felt that they were contributing to the environment. Uh, I don't understand how people don't understand what we're going through, what we're going to go through. It's not us.
So,
You and I'll survive. It's our kids and their kids.
right. And I worry about that all the time.
Well, that's something you can't do anything about unless you do something about it.
Right. Well, I understand that. And I talk to young people all the time and I tell them, and they they'll protest, they'll they'll talk about it, but they won't go and do anything about it, because it seems like it's too much effort to uh, do it, to fight it on their own. They need to be in a group, and the groups they just talk. They don't do anything.
I have always been a fighter. I've always been a dreamer. It takes a little dreaming to do things. Uh, I was in Italy. This is before I even heard of solar phones. I'm driving down, I don't remember exactly where it was. I see this lake where there should be no lake. Just doesn't make any sense. It's not on the map as a lake. Is that? I drive down the hill and I drive up, and there's a fence going around the property. And by this time, I see it's structures. And my wife speaks Italian, I don't. So, of course, I got out of the car and tried to speak to the guy and then called her over. And we got in to see it. And it was a solar farm. First solar farm I ever saw. And the most amazing thing about the solar farm, which I wanted to do on mine, was they farmed under it. They were growing tomatoes, vegetables. They were all high enough so they could get in and do that, which I think is amazing. Not been able to do it yet since.
Now the solar seems to be working very well. What do you think of these windmills, the wind towers that they've been building, and the wind farms? Because I don't find that it's doing what they promised that they would be doing.
I don't understand wind farms. I understand no moving parts. I understand basically the fact that you could build something that'll generate energy without really having moving parts. Meaning a slab silicon is what you do. That made sense to me because that said to me, no makeup. You got to clean. That's all.
Yeah, see, we're talking about the solar and this the green,
So,
and now I'm looking at what's happening with all these electric vehicles, and now a lot of the electric vehicle auto manufacturers are starting to pull back some of their manufacturing because it hasn't been working right. And I think part of the problem is we don't have that infrastructure for electric vehicles in place yet. And it becomes a little frustrating for a lot of people.
I bought one of the first Teslas. Tesla, no matter what you think about him, he's got his act together. Their act is together. You will not go without energy unless you're stupid. You have to really be stupid not to plug in your car. You have to really be stupid to let the thing run down beyond 300 miles, 350
Right.
miles. You just plan yourself.
Yeah.
It's knock wood. I mean, I hope it lasts, but it's the best car I've ever owned.
Yeah. I just, I consider it constantly, but like I said, part of the issue is the infrastructure is not
Oh,
there.
okay, so buy a Tesla. They have an infrastructure. They have stations to charge up the gazoo. And when you, uh, if you're going to travel, I think my Tesla gets 320 miles a gallon, 320 miles a charge, right? Um, if you're going to travel over that, if you look at their guideline and you put in their navigation as to where you're going, they'll give you every station that you can stop at.
Now, I've seen some of those stations where there's people that are lined up waiting to have their car charged. So, that's an issue for
I'm not,
someone that
I'm
is,
not, I'm not run into that once, but I'll tell you one thing, and Musk is smart. All these stations are near restaurants, good restaurants. They're all near shopping centers. It's. I guess there will become a time when everybody will be waiting online for them.
yeah, I do think that eventually it will come into play, that everyone would want to get these electric vehicles, but right now, I, that it seemed like it was going strong, and now all these manufacturers starting to.
Yeah, because okay, this is not an ad for Tesla, but they're all playing catch up. They don't even know what the problems are. Because you don't buy something the first season, right? Let them work it out, and then you can buy it. So that's what's happening, and they're not going away. They're going to be in electric.
No, I don't think it's going to go away. I think a lot of them might start going towards more of a hybrid instead of a full EV vehicle. But I don't know. I'm not in that industry. I'm in
All I
the
want to do is get rid of gas. That's all.
yeah.
And Trump wants to drill, drill, drill. Look at
Well, there's we can go into politics at another time because that's a
off the
whole other
off the
story.
air.
And I'm not a big fan of any politician, no matter who it is, because I'm just disgusted with our whole government system. It's our political system has just gone down
Now it's
the toilet.
stupid. Now it's really stupid. It's been in the toilet for a long time, but the toilet's overflowing.
Right. So, I don't know, when you say everyone has to, it won't change unless everyone participates or does their part to make it change. Well, I talk about it a little and I get a lot of heat for it. I get a lot of heat for it. But so,
Really,
well, I'm not the most politically correct person in the world. You know,
it's
sometimes
okay.
I'll talk my mind and, might not be the right place or the right time. And I'll get a lot of heat on it. But you know what? I feel like I'm doing my part to try to make some sense of some of the things that are going on. I'm a great listener. So if someone says, "Oh, that's not right," and they give me a good reason why it's not right, I take that into consideration. I listen to it.
Of course,
And opinions are a great thing. I
everyone's got
love I, I love to hear your opinion. I hope you would like to hear my opinion, but that has to go among the rest of the world. Now there's only one side, and it's their opinion, and they don't care about anyone else's opinion. So, it's hard to fight that. But
uh,
that goes to another show.
yes.
But Jerry, it's been very interesting talking to you. I love
Like,
the leisure suit story.
no, don't make the leisures with our story.
Well, no, that's not our end. I love the leisure suit story because it was a big part of my growing up, and I also, I used to love seeing Sammy Davis Jr. wearing one and Frank Sinatra wearing one.
Jimmy,
Everyone, it was the style.
yeah,
And
Carlson was the one who started it.
who is?
Johnny Carson.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He used to wear them as well.
He started it. The
Yeah.
first leisure suit he wore, not the first one ever made, but I mean the first uh, television show with a celebrity on it wearing it. And he even made comments about it, which even helped.
Yeah. So you designed it, and there were a lot of other people that were manufacturing them.
I actually designed the leisure suit for a textile mill that I was working for to sell fabric. It was a women's wear textile mill who was selling to manufacturers in the women's wear trade. And I came in and I saw something I thought was good for men's, and that's how it ran. I ran with it's in the book. I
Okay.
actually used to work in two men's clothing stores when I was 16 through second year of college. Uh,
All right. So now we know, now we got people that are really going to be interested to read that book because they want to find out what happened with that leisure suit. So you have the book coming out, Jump on the Train,
right,
and that will be out on February 20th.
right,
You can get that on Amazon.
correct.
And then
In,
you have,
in the audio, it'll be what, what's the little thing people carry?
oh, the iPod.
Not an iPod. It's something. It's another thing. It's strictly for reading books.
So it will be available in audio and on the tablets that,
Yeah.
so you can read it and listen, which is what I like, where um, you can see all the words, you can kind of follow it, and they're reading it to you.
What's that?
That,
What's the machine? You know?
I did know that, but I am not the most technical savvy person in the world.
We discovered that at the beginning of the show or before the show.
Yeah. But it's oh God, I can't think of the name of it.
So, as another teaser for the book, uh, Beyonce uh, shot her first Super Bowl commercial uh, in a place that I built.
The place that you built, the Super Bowl commercial. What? I'm trying to think back.
You wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know.
I built a studio um, called the Brick Studio, but it wasn't a brick, and Sandy washed it away.
Huh. Well, and that's in the book too.
Yeah,
Okay.
didn't keep anything back from the book.
Okay. Great. So the whole story is in the book, and then the Bowery Hotel, that part is also in the book.
Yeah.
So, all your entrepreneurial travels or journeys have you have in this book, pretty much. Well, that's interesting.
Actually, this is one that I don't have yet.
Oh, with the watch.
The band.
Oh,
I designed the band. It's patented.
oh, it just slides on.
Yeah, and I'm going to try and market out in the world.
So, tell me a little bit about that band. Does it do anything but just sit, have the watch sit on it, or does it read your temperature or things like that?
Well, the watch is the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
It's the iWatch, so it does everything.
So the watch does it all.
Well, the
The
watch is
band,
is the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
The band strictly slides and will stand up on your night table so that you can
Oh,
put it.
so you can see it. Interesting. That should be a good, nice selling product.
Well, see, now
Well,
I've never been successful, which is also in the book. Never been successful in selling a product.
hmm. Well, this could change it all.
It's true.
Well, very interesting talking with you, Jerry.
It's a
You've had a,
pleasure talking with you,
hey,
Rick.
you had a very interesting life. I think so.
It's been uh, it's been different.
Different, but a lot of they say sometimes entrepreneurs, their downfalls always lead to great things. You know, you might have fallen a couple of times, but every time you get up, you get even better.
It's essential that you get up. It's essential you don't give in to what happened, whatever that is.
Right.
And kids, I'm going to say something that's not great. School is wonderful, but you don't need it. Okay? If you're willing to really work, but I mean work. Say something else that doesn't. Lawyers, doctors, it's wonderful, but they don't work as hard as an entrepreneur.
Well, they work hard, but they work in a different way
Yeah.
because they're more of an educational way. They'll
Yeah.
work extra hard to learn how to do certain procedures and things like that. But
Can you
doctors,
wipe that last thing off the tape?
no, because that's an important point. Because you know, there are doctors, there are lawyers, there are guys in that professional field that they work very hard at what they do, and they prove it and the results they have. And then there's guys that are in that field that are not very good at what they do, you know, because they just scrape
Taking up
by.
space. Yeah.
And it's the same with entrepreneurs. You can be an entrepreneur and you might just open a retail store and you'll be happy with that. But an entrepreneur like yourself, you always work to get bigger and better. You know, you you never have that. Well, I'm here. That's it. I don't have to go anywhere else.
I will, something else that's in the book. Okay. That's important because this is the medical building represented a drizzler to me. I use the term drizzler. It's from London Fog. They used to make a drizzler, which is a little jacket. You play golf in it, you're outside, it's just a regular jacket. But they make it day in, day out. They made all their money to deal with their other uh, overhead from that drizzle. And I look at the medical building as in being my drizzler. It gave me the basis from which I could work. And that's one of the things I would advise kids to find their drizzler. And then you could do anything.
You're right. Exactly. I mean, I've always told my son that he has a great advantage in this day and age because if you want to do something and you want to work 140%,
Mm-hmm.
no matter where you go to work, and you do that extra 40%, most people that are employed by that company only do 70%, maybe even less. So when you're doing 100, 140% work,
Hmm.
you're going to shine like a diamond, and you're going to grow fast because you have an advantage over everyone else. And
Sure.
I think anyone young that gets into any kind of profession, that will be the story of their succession. Working hard, which is what you said earlier. Working hard is the key to being above average in this day and age, because you don't have as much competition as you would have had 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah, you don't have people. Well, our society has changed a lot. It's become a watching society. Um, it's not even people to people. It's tool to tool. It's kind of like when you have that, you lose that touch of ideas. When you deal with people, you get ideas. When you deal with a phone, you don't get ideas.
Well, Jerry, like I said before, it's been great talking with you. We talked almost an hour, so I mean, it's
Is that what it's supposed to be?
well, sometimes we go an hour, sometimes 45 minutes, so it worked out perfect. And we're talking with Jerry Rosengarten, and he is an author, I'd say in
By the way,
designer.
you're an author. You're an author with one book. You can be an author with 10 books.
Yeah.
Author.
Well, we are the author of Jump on the Train, which is coming out on February 20th. And you're also a designer. You're also a entrepreneur in a commercial real estate investor, and I would say designer is on commercial real estate as well, because you came up with some concepts that no one else had before, and then people see it and they probably stole your idea. Like how everything works.
Every idea has always been stolen.
That's
That's the way it is.
the way it goes. So again, thank you, Jerry. Pleasure talking with you. And we are listening to the NEREJ, NYREJ podcast. I'm Rick Kaplan. Until next time.